The Mafia, a word that sends shivers down the spine and evokes a sense of dread. The very word conjures images of shadowy figures, whispered conversations, and brutal violence. It is a world shrouded in mystery and fear, where trust is scarce and betrayal is often met with deadly consequences. Its roots lie deep in the history of Sicily, Italy, where a code of silence and a thirst for power fueled a criminal enterprise that would reach across the Atlantic and take hold in the United States. Sicily, with its rugged landscapes and ancient traditions, provided the perfect breeding ground for such an organization. This is the story of how a secret society born in the rural fields of Sicily rose to prominence in America, leaving a trail of blood and influence in its wake. The journey of the Mafia from the old world to the new is a tale of adaptation and ruthless ambition. The Mafia's origins can be traced back to the 19th century, when Sicily was a land of poverty and lawlessness. The island was plagued by banditry and a lack of effective governance, creating a vacuum that the Mafia would soon fill. With a weak government unable to provide protection or justice, secret societies emerged, offering their own brand of order and control. These groups promised security and retribution in a land where the official law was often absent or corrupt. These groups, known as Mafia, operated outside the law, settling disputes, protecting their members, and extorting money from local businesses. They became the de facto authority in many areas, their power growing as they filled the void left by the state. This system of organized crime, built on loyalty, violence, and a code of silence known as Omertà, would become the foundation of the American Mafia. Omertà, the code of silence, ensured that secrets were kept, and that the Mafia's grip on power remained unchallenged. The late 19th century saw a wave of Italian immigrants arriving on American shores, seeking a better life and fleeing the hardships of their homeland. These immigrants brought with them their culture, traditions, and for some, a history of organized crime that had deep roots in Sicily. Among them were members of the Sicilian Mafia, who saw in America a land ripe with opportunity. They were quick to recognize the potential for establishing their own criminal enterprises in this new and rapidly developing society. As they settled in cities like New York, Chicago, and New Orleans, they established their own criminal networks, preying on their fellow immigrants and exploiting the burgeoning underworld of these rapidly growing urban centers. These cities, with their dense populations and thriving economies, provided the perfect environment for the Mafia to flourish. Early Mafia activities focused on traditional rackets such as extortion, loan sharking, and illegal gambling. These operations were highly profitable and allowed the Mafia to amass significant wealth and power. They used intimidation and violence to control their territories, enforcing their own code of justice and demanding absolute loyalty from their members. This ruthless approach ensured that their operations ran smoothly and that any dissent was swiftly dealt with. These Italian gangs, with their deep-seated traditions and ruthless methods, quickly gained a foothold in America's underworld, laying the groundwork for the powerful criminal empire they would soon become. Their influence would grow over the decades, shaping the landscape of organized crime in America for generations to come. The 1920s ushered in an era of unprecedented prosperity and social change in America. It also saw the rise of the American Mafia. With the passage of Prohibition, which outlawed the sale and manufacture of alcohol, the Mafia found a golden opportunity to expand its operations. Bootlegging, the illegal production and distribution of alcohol, became a multi-million-dollar industry, and the Mafia was perfectly positioned to exploit it. Mafia gangs seized control of breweries and distilleries, smuggling in liquor from Canada and the Caribbean. They bribed law enforcement officials, intimidated rivals, and used violence to protect their turf. The vast profits from bootlegging fueled the Mafia's growth, allowing them to buy influence, expand into other criminal activities, and establish themselves as a force to be reckoned with in America's underworld. No figure embodies the rise of the American Mafia during Prohibition more than Al Capone. A ruthless and ambitious gangster from New York, Capone rose through the ranks of Chicago's underworld, eventually taking control of the city's lucrative bootlegging operations. Under his leadership, the Chicago Outfit, as his gang was known, amassed a fortune through illegal alcohol, gambling, and prostitution. Capone's reign was marked by both business acumen and extreme violence. He understood the importance of public image, cultivating relationships with politicians and the media. However, he never hesitated to use brutality to eliminate rivals and instill fear. The St. Valentine's Day massacre, in which 7 members of a rival gang were gunned down in broad daylight, remains a chilling reminder of the ruthlessness of Capone's Chicago outfit. Section 5. The Commission Organizing Chaos. By the late 1920s, the Mafia's grip on America's underworld was undeniable. However, the fierce competition between different gangs, often resulting in bloody turf wars, threatened the stability of their criminal enterprise. In 1931, in an effort to avoid all-out war and maintain control, the leaders of the most powerful Mafia families came together to form the Commission. This council of bosses, composed of representatives from the 5 families of New York City and other powerful Mafia factions, aimed to regulate the underworld, mediate disputes, and ensure the continued profitability of their criminal activities. The Commission marked a turning point in the history of the American Mafia, establishing a more structured and hierarchical organization that would dominate organized crime for decades to come. Section 6. Vegas, Baby Vegas, the mob goes west. Following World War II, the American Mafia set its sights on a new frontier, Las Vegas. The city, nestled in the Nevada desert, was a blank canvas for their ambitions. The Nevada desert town, with its lax gambling laws and promise of quick riches, offered a lucrative opportunity for the mob to expand its operations. The allure of untapped potential and the promise of high returns made Las Vegas irresistible. Using funds they had accrued through bootlegging and other rackets, Mafia families invested heavily in the construction of casinos, transforming Las Vegas from a dusty outpost into a glittering gambling mecca. These investments were strategic, aimed at creating a stronghold in the West. Mafia-controlled casinos like the Flamingo and the Sands attracted Hollywood celebrities, wealthy tourists, and high rollers from across the country. The presence of these high-profile visitors added a veneer of legitimacy and glamour to the city. The mob skimmed millions of dollars from these casinos, laundering the money through a complex web of legitimate businesses. This intricate system allowed them to funnel illicit gains into seemingly lawful enterprises, further entrenching their influence. For a time, Las Vegas became synonymous with the Mafia, its glitz and glamour masking a dark underbelly of organized crime. The city's bright lights and bustling casinos were a facade, hiding the shadowy dealings of the mob. Section 7. Cracks in the facade. Law enforcement strikes back. The Mafia's reign of power, however, was not to last. In the 1950s and 1960s, law enforcement agencies began to crack down on organized crime. The establishment of the Senate Rackets Committee, led by Senator Estes Kefauver, brought the inner workings of the Mafia into the public eye, exposing their criminal activities and challenging their code of silence. Federal agencies like the FBI, under the leadership of J. Edgar Hoover, stepped up their efforts to dismantle the Mafia. Informants and turncoats, once unthinkable within the Mafia's culture of Omertà, began to emerge, providing crucial evidence that led to high-profile arrests and convictions. The Mafia's grip on America's underworld was beginning to weaken. Section 8. The Teflon Don and the Fall of the Mob. Despite these setbacks, the Mafia remained a powerful force in the latter half of the 20th century. John Gotti, the flamboyant boss of the Gambino crime family, became a media sensation in the 1980s, earning the nickname the Teflon Don for his ability to evade conviction. However, Gotti's high profile proved to be his downfall. His brazen disregard for the law and his penchant for attracting attention made him a prime target for law enforcement. In 1992, Gotti was convicted of racketeering and murder, marking a significant victory for the government in its fight against organized crime. Section 9. Conclusion. The Legacy of Omertà. The conviction of John Gotti is often seen as the beginning of the end for the American Mafia. While organized crime certainly hasn't disappeared, the Mafia's influence has waned considerably in the 21st century. The rise of new criminal enterprises, such as Russian and Asian organized crime groups, coupled with the continued efforts of law enforcement, has chipped away at the Mafia's power base. The story of the American Mafia is a cautionary tale of ambition, corruption, and the seductive allure of power. It is a reminder that even the most powerful criminal organizations are not invincible, and that the rule of law, though often challenged, can ultimately prevail. The legacy of the Mafia, however, continues to fascinate and disturb, a reminder of a dark chapter in American history.